welcome to Ravensdale Bible Academy. Today's course is Introduction to Marriage, and today's lesson is Deeds of the Flesh. Now, that may sound a little dark for a marriage conversation, but it really is important that you identify what not to do, that you identify the warning signs so that you don't allow those to become seeds to become, powerful agents of the flesh, so that it ultimately will choke out and poison your marriage. Now, Galatians 5, beginning at verse 16 says this, "But I say, walk by the Spirit, and you will not carry out the desire of the flesh." So first of all, you have a great encouragement. If you walk by the Spirit, if you walk according to the laws of the Lord, if you walk in a manner worthy of the calling, if you put on the deeds of love, if you put on your spiritual gifts, if you do that, then you won't carry out the deeds of the flesh. But keep in mind, you are a sinner, and so there's some warning signs and there's some traps, and the evil one is seeking whom he may devour. So verse 17 says, "For the flesh sets its desire against the Spirit." It's at war with the Spirit, "and the Spirit against the flesh. For these are in opposition to one another, so that you may not do the things that you please." So beware. But if you're led by the Spirit, you're not under the law. Now, the deeds of the flesh are evident. Everybody knows what the deeds of the flesh are, which are immorality, impurity, sensuality, idolatry, sorcery, enmity, strife, jealousy, outbursts of anger, disputes, dissensions, factions, envying, drunkenness, carousing, and things like these, of which I forewarn you, just as I have forewarned you, that those who practice such things will not inherit the kingdom of God. And may I say, if you practice these things, you will not inherit a great marriage. And so it's very, very important that you walk by the Spirit and not by the flesh. But we also need to know, okay, what are the warning signs? What are these deeds of the flesh that I'm supposed to be afraid of? Because I would venture to say that we all think of maybe 2 or 3, but that list was longer than 2 or 3 warnings, right? And so in a perfect world, there wouldn't be any sinners. In a perfect world, the husband and the wife would come together and neither one of them would be sinners. And because of that, there wouldn't be any evil, there wouldn't be any wickedness, there wouldn't be any problems. You could have a perfect marriage. But we don't live in that fantasy world. We do not live in that fantasy world. In fact, we struggle between living in the Spirit and by the deeds of our own carnal desires, our own flesh, our sinful flesh. And so Galatians 5, 19 to 21 warns us, it gives a great warning that people who practice these things, what is practice? Doing them over and over and over again, right? People who practice these things practice these worldly tendencies. They will bring strife into your life. They will bring strife into your marriage. It reminds me, it's like, we come across people like this all the time. It's like, well, he treats me great, but, he only has problems with other people. Well, it's not going to take long until the character, the deeds of the flesh that you see exhibited elsewhere are going to come into your home, are going to come to you. And so these are the types of things that we're looking for in a spouse, right? We want them to walk by the Spirit, but we also don't want to see the deeds of the flesh in them. Not only are they not going to inherit the kingdom of God, so you're not equally yoked, you don't have the same game plan, you're not really serving the same God, but it's going to make for a very, very difficult marriage. So there's a big giant caution sign, right? There's a big giant sign, it's flashing, right? It's flashing at you. Boom, boom, boom. It's flashing. These are the deeds of the flesh. Beware. 15 flashes, 15 alerts that contradict godliness. And so again, what are these things? Immorality, an immoral person, impurity. Purity is important. Your physical purity is very important. It's important to God. It's important to your parents. It's important to your future spouse. Purity is an important thing. Sensuality, okay, tied into that. Idolatry, sorcery, enmity. Look. A lot of us think, well, I've never committed idolatry. I've never committed sorcery. I'm good. Pick the two that you like, right? But then we start coming to enmities or strife. These are things like, you create division with other people. You create conflict, strife. That's a deed of the flesh. Jealousy and anger. Anger is a deed of your flesh. It's not a godly attribute. Disputes, people who get into disputes, right? In this strife, in this enmity, in this anger, causing dissensions. It's amazing. In this list, we see enmity, strife, anger, disputes, dissensions, factions. It's like the same thing. Why is God warning us about these things in different ways? It's for emphasis. Beware, be on alert, stay away from these things. These are things that are listed in Proverbs 6 that God says, I hate. I hate these things. You need to learn how to hate them too. The list goes on and it talks about things like drunkenness. You're not to be drunk, not to be carousing, sleeping with multiple people, from house to house, from bed to bed. These are the deeds of the flesh. And you know what? We know what the deeds of the flesh are. We know what's right and wrong. But very clearly, this lists us out so that we know what to stay away from as a blueprint for a great marriage, as a warning sign to protect us. That's what warning signs do. Warning signs are there. Do not enter. No trespassing for your protection. It's important for us to understand that the enemies or forces that are out there are working against us. They're working against your marriage. And so beware of the warning signs. Don't think that, you know what, I don't have to pay attention, or it's going to be easy. I'm in love. He's not like that. She's not like that. Listen, we all are attacked at one time or another, either by somebody else, something else, or even our own sinful carnal desires. Understand, it's hard. You got to work at it. It takes effort. It takes work. And so you can make it through. That's the encouraging part. The encouraging part is you can walk by the Spirit. You can have victory over the flesh. But understand that the deeds of the flesh will not only hurt you spiritually, but they will destroy your marriage as well.